Hi, I'm Sue Hillyard, and this presentation is being recorded for EA Zoom meetings. Welcome to my talk on solar eclipses 2017 to 2024 on the geodetic world map. The day of our next solstice will have the last solar eclipse in this cycle of the lunar nodes being in Cancer Capricorn. The nodal axis will have already shifted into Gemini and Sagittarius on May 5th, 2020. But the nodes at 29 degrees Gemini and Sagittarius will be very close to the degree of this new moon at 0 degrees Cancer, 21 minutes, making it an eclipse. This eclipse map from timeanddate.com shows the path of the eclipse. It will start in Africa and move across the Middle East and Asia. It is the 36th event of 70 in Saros cycle number 137, so the cycle is about halfway through. For Oman and India, this will be the second annular eclipse within a year, happening 6 months after the one on December 25th, 2019, at 4 degrees Capricorn and 7 minutes. That one originated in Saudi Arabia and went on through India and Singapore. This eclipse map of the world is from Sirius Astrology software. The blue arrows indicate the direction these paths take, and you can also see where they cross. The country of Oman is where they intersect on the left, just to the right of the top blue arrow. Oman's former sultan died on the lunar eclipse of January 10th, 2020, after a 50-year reign, and their new ruler vowed to keep facilitating peace, as Qaboos bin Said had done. This quote is from gulfbusiness.com just a few days ago and talks about the sweeping changes the new ruler, Haytham bin Tariq, wants to make in the country. Emerging from the traditional 40-day mourning period last week, Haytham offered his 4 million subjects no freebies, not even extravagant promises. Instead, he signaled that he would prioritize getting the Sultanate's books in order, even if this meant unpopular steps. Raising revenues and lowering Oman's debt would, he warned, require a complete revision of government companies. This sounds like a Capricorn-Pluto-Saturn sentiment to me, and I suspect that more will be revealed as we move toward the next eclipse. This United States map shows the path of the Great American Eclipse in August 2017 on 28 Leo 53. Its name came from the fact that it spanned the entire United States, starting at the Pacific Northwest and ending in the Atlantic Ocean to the southeast of the country, cutting a wide path of totality across the entire nation. Since then, people have talked about the increasing division in the U.S., and we've seen some remarkable events all across this country, from riots in Portland to major election fraud in North Carolina, as well as lots of extreme weather. And coincidentally, according to a New York Times article from January 21st, 2020, a man in Washington state was the first confirmed case of the coronavirus in the United States. He had returned from Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak, on January 15th, 2 days before passenger screening was instituted at 3 major airports in the United States. But he had no symptoms at the time. Then on February 29th, USA Today reported that Washington had declared a state of emergency only hours after a patient in their 50s with underlying health problems was identified as the first person in the US to die from the coronavirus outbreak. With respect to the eclipse path, it's interesting to me that the initial case in the US was in this area, as was the first reported death. Some astrologers say that eclipses are in effect from the time they occur until the next eclipse season, approximately 6 months later. However, others contend that the effects can last longer. This seems to make the case for a longer time frame, as the reverberations of this one appear to be continuing. According to Wikipedia, total solar eclipses are rare events. Although they take place somewhere on Earth every 18 months on average, it is estimated that they recur at any given place only once every 360 to 410 years on average. So I was interested to learn that there will be another total eclipse across the US on April 8th, 2024. This one will come up through Mexico, the United States, and Canada, going right over Dallas and Indianapolis, crossing the path of the Great American Eclipse in southern Illinois. It passes just below Montreal and heads out to sea at St. John's, Newfoundland. But wait, there's more. As if this isn't enough, 6 months previous to that, on October 14th, 2023, we will have an annular eclipse at 21 degrees Libra and 8 minutes, whose path also cuts across the US. It will intersect with the Great American Path in the Pacific Ocean, west of Eugene, Oregon, cut through the US, and pass through Mexico, Central and South America. The 2024 event will then cross this one in Texas, forming sort of a grid over the country. It has not escaped me that the time frame of these eclipses is bookended by 2 US presidential elections and includes another one, as well as the country's Pluto return on February 22nd, 2022. All of the above is what prompted this talk. Okay, let's look a little closer at this period of time. The moon's nodes move in a retrograde motion or backwards through the zodiac, changing signs approximately every 18 months. This chart shows the month when they move from one sign into the next. In May of 2017, the north node of the moon had moved into Leo and the south node to Aquarius. So the eclipses began to happen in those signs. The nodes then moved into Cancer and Capricorn in November of 2018 and will enter Gemini and Sagittarius in May of 2020, etc. In January of 2025, they will move back into Pisces and Virgo, in essence, beginning a new zodiacal cycle. Now, I use the true nodes here as opposed to the mean ones, since the mean calculation produces an average of their position, and I'd rather see exactly where they are. Opinions differ about which to use, but for the work I do, true nodes are my choice. Here's a list of lunar and solar eclipses between February 2017 and October 2024, excerpted from a document on Chris Brennan's website, theastrologypodcast.com. During this period of time, the nodes have moved from Leo Aquarius through Cancer Capricorn and will next move into Gemini Sagittarius and then to Taurus Scorpio and Aries Libra. Most years have 2 eclipse seasons, each with 2 eclipses, one lunar and one solar. Occasionally, we will have 2 of one type and 1 of another in a season. When there are 2 of the same type, they are usually both as far from the nodes as is possible to still be considered an eclipse, and then in between, one of the other type very close to the nodes. Summer 2018 and this coming summer fall in that category. 2018 had 1 strong lunar eclipse flanked by 2 solar ones, and this year we'll see a powerful solar eclipse bookended by 2 weaker lunar eclipses. This happens when one Saros cycle is coming to an end and the other one is just starting. And if you're interested in learning more about eclipses and Saros cycles, I had previously presented an EA Zoom meeting about them. And you can find it and a couple of other talks I've done by searching for my name on the EA Zoom meetings YouTube channel. After May of 2017, when the North Node moved into Leo and South Node to Aquarius, the eclipses began to take place in those signs. The last eclipse in Pisces had occurred in February of that year. The nodes moved to Cancer Capricorn in November 2018, as did the eclipse points. May 5th, 2020, the nodes will move into Gemini and Sagittarius. The last Cancer eclipse of this group will be June 21st, 2020 on 0 degrees Cancer, 21 minutes. All of the NASA Saros information is from moonblink.info, and the Brady Saros numbers are out of Bernadette Brady's book, Predictive Astrology. The red bracket shows the two milder eclipses that are members of series which are ending and beginning. Brady has her own system for naming the eclipse cycles based on the pole where the series starts. Her old designation indicates a series that's ending. New is one that's beginning. The 7/12/18 eclipse in Saros series number 117, a series that began in 792 AD, is number 69 out of 71 total events. So there will be two more minor ones in the series before it ends August 3rd, 2054. The eclipses occur on the lunar node corresponding to the pole where the series originated. For example, the one on December 25th, 2019 is Brady Series 3 South and was conjunct the South Node. In May of 2020, the North Node moves into Gemini and South Node to Sagittarius, and eclipses will begin to occur in those signs. The nodes ingress Taurus and Scorpio, November 2021, although there will be one more eclipse in Sagittarius after that. They move into Aries and Libra, July 2023. However, there's actually one eclipse at the end of Aries before that, near the Taurus North Node. The last Aries eclipse will happen in March of 2025, after the nodes move into Virgo and Pisces in January of 2025. The overlap of signs happens when a new moon is close enough to the nodes to be deemed an eclipse, regardless of the sign the nodes occupy. This graphic shows the solar eclipse types and the proportion of each type. I was surprised to see that they are pretty much evenly divided, especially when you add the number of annular total to total. An annular solar eclipse happens when the moon covers the sun's center, leaving the sun's visible outer edges to form a ring of fire, or annulus, around the moon. Annular eclipses are not so named because they happen the same time every year. While eclipses do generally occur about every 6 months, it isn't necessarily the same kind of eclipse each time. Annular total is a type of total eclipse where there is still an annulus or ring around the sun. The image here in the center is of what's called a diamond ring annular eclipse. On the left, a partial, and the one on the right is a total. The key difference is that the moon is farther away from the Earth during an annular as compared to a total eclipse. This gives the appearance of the moon being smaller in the sky, and it no longer completely covers the sun. Instead, a ring of fire remains. Does anybody have any questions so far? Comments? Okay. So here's the world map showing the paths of those 3 US eclipses, as well as the other eclipses that are happening across the globe between 2017 and 2024. You can see that although their paths are somewhat random, the arrows point to 4 areas of concentration where the paths crisscross. The US right here, Asia right here, Russia, and South America. So let's simplify the map a little. Here we're just seeing the 3 eclipses each in both the US and Asia, which all overlap geographically to enclose a part of that area. I've indicated here the 0 degrees and 182 degree longitude lines on the map for reference. Now this map depicts how each 30 degrees of longitude and latitude correspond to an astrological sign across the geodetic world map, representing a theory developed by L. Edward Jondro and used periodically by Jeffrey Wolf Green in his evolutionary astrology work. Aries starts at the 0 meridian, right here, and the longitude lines are in red. The yellow lines correspond to latitude, but for our purposes today, we won't use them. This is a more simplified map using only longitude. It shows, for example, that North and South America fall primarily within the astrological zones of Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Aquarius. This is pertinent to the topic of my talk, as the South Lunar Node will be traversing these signs precisely between 2017 and 2024, and the North Node will be in the opposite signs in the area corresponding to much of the rest of the world. I had chosen the dates based upon the pattern made by the intersecting eclipses before I looked at where the nodes were during that period. I found it interesting that the dates did not include the time when the nodes were in Virgo and Pisces, 2 of the mutable signs. This perhaps speaks to the transitory quality of these 2 signs, in that the eclipses occurring during these times were lead-in and lead-out events to the main story, overlapping with the previous ones, similar to the way our seasons change when the sun is in mutable signs. And you can see the longitude degrees down here, increments of 30 degrees across the map. Now here are the nodal positions between 2017 and 2024. The blue arrows here indicate the direction of the nodal progression, that is, backwards through the zodiac. For instance, as of May 2017, the North Node was in Leo. It moved into Cancer November 6, 2018, and will go into Gemini May 5th this year. Red arrows point to the nodal shift into Gemini and Sagittarius on May 5th, right here. And on this line, and that line. So let's look at the eclipses that are occurring in these areas. This shows the world solar eclipse paths combined with the geodetic world map. Again, with the arrows pointing to the arrows representing the nodal shift that's coming in May. And you can also, again, see the longitude lines along the bottom. Here you see that these areas are within the 8 geodetic zones of Scorpio Taurus, Gemini Sag, Cancer Cap, and Leo Aquarius, which I had noted is where the lunar nodes are during this time frame. I have noticed that the geographic areas within the Gemini, Sagittarius, Cancer, Capricorn zones are ones that have been particularly active in the news cycles lately. And I will pursue this idea a little more in a few minutes. The other areas in the top right of the map in Russia and China, up here, is in the zone where the nodes were previously, and the eclipses do fall within this time frame. The area is one that is turning out to have been a hot spot and could escalate more in the next few years. Also note that the US and South America eclipse events overlap the Scorpio zone, and the Asia events overlap with the Middle East and Africa in the Taurus zone. The nodes will also move into Scorpio and Taurus between the years of 2021 and 2023. I chose this particular time frame because I had noticed after the August 2017 US total solar eclipse that there were 2 more eclipses that would cut through the country, thus creating 3 spots where 2 eclipse paths cross. After the Great American Eclipse, many astrologers remarked that it had divided the nation, and since then, much talk has been focused upon the idea that the nation is more divided than it's ever been. I wondered then what would happen after 2 more eclipses cut through the country, one of which is another total one. Will we become increasingly more divided, or could it possibly be that we find a way to meet in the middle, so to speak? Concurrently, I began to notice how many current events were coming out of the area having been defined by the 26 December 2019 path through Asia and the Middle East. I started to dig deeper. Okay, I'd say that all these lines probably look like some child went a little crazy with an Etch-a-Sketch. So let's try and simplify it a little bit. In studying the world eclipses over time, I began to notice that there were clusters of them that overlapped one another, creating patterns of concentration in certain areas. 2 areas that have been the origin of many news stories lately show 3 eclipse events that will overlap and contain part of these areas. They are the US and Asia. South America has even more events, and I will touch on that later separately. What I thought was remarkable is that these areas all happen to fall primarily within the Leo Aquarius, Cancer Capricorn, and Gemini Sag zones of the geodetic map. These are the signs where the eclipses have been and will be occurring over the next few years. Here are the US event paths. When I first saw this map with all 3 US eclipses, it made me think of Neptune's trident. And coincidentally, the USA Sibley progressed Pisces Sun has been experiencing a Neptune conjunction by transit. This, in addition to the approaching Pluto return in Capricorn. The USA Sibley chart here shows transiting Neptune having just passed the conjunction to progress Sun down here, heading for a square to natal Neptune right here, as transiting Pluto down here bears down on natal Pluto. Transiting Mercury here recently traveling retrograde in the USA third house, just turned direct on our moon and will then go over progressed sun and conjoin transiting Neptune. Through this way. One topic this transit evokes is all of the misinformation circulating and/or the extreme lack of reliable info regarding the coronavirus. Transiting Saturn has just conjoined our second house natal Pluto here. With Jupiter not far behind, indicative of the volatility in the stock market. As Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto have been approaching the USA Sibley natal Pluto, they are accompanied by asteroid Chariklo, who I spoke about in my last Zoom meeting as the one who is holding space for the much needed transformation we are and will be experiencing during this epic transit. Now this map looks to me either like an eye or perhaps a fish with a line extending up here through China and Russia. Certainly all eyes are on this area as the coronavirus, which originated in China in December 2019, spreads across the world. Iran, which borders this area, has apparently been suppressing data on the number of people infected, including many high-ranking politicians. Wuhan, the epicenter of the pandemic, indicated here by the red star, is in the Cancer zone and just above the path of the 0-degree Cancer eclipse path on the solstice. It's already pretty clear that containment of the virus is not happening. Is that what this eclipse map is confirming? And underscoring and punctuating the gravity and evolutionary importance of these times is the fact that the planetary nodes of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto fall across the Cancer-Capricorn axis. Here's a map from bnonews.com showing current coronavirus cases actually from a few days ago. As of today, many large events have been canceled and professional sports seasons are suspended, including the NCAA tournament, NHL, NBA, and MLB spring training. In addition, a travel ban from Europe to the US has been instituted by the Trump administration. According to a March 9th article in The Atlantic, on February 28th, one of Iran's vice presidents announced that she had the virus. She is one of the most famous politicians in the country, well known even in the West for her role as a particularly sadistic member of the group that held US diplomats hostage in 1979 in Tehran. Soon we learned of 3 other senior officials who not only contracted the virus, but were killed by it. Here's a quote from the Atlantic article. Right now, Iran is 3rd behind China and South Korea and just ahead of Italy. But the official Iranian number is almost certainly an undercount, probably due to the Iranian government's attempt to hide a desperate situation for which it is partially responsible. When the final history of the coronavirus epidemic of 2020 is written, it may go something like this. The disease started in China, but it became finally and irrevocably uncontained in Iran. Knowing that the Iranian number is much higher than is currently disclosed tells the rest of the world that the epidemic is even further along than official statistics indicated. The article goes on to illustrate the suppression of information. On February 21st, Iran conducted the latest in a series of sham elections in which only government-selected candidates could run for office. To show disapproval, many Iranians refused to vote, and as participation has dropped, the appearance of electoral legitimacy has dropped as well. Iran's government told its people that the United States had hyped COVID-19 to suppress turnout, and Tehran vowed to punish anyone spreading rumors about a serious epidemic. 43% of Iranians voted, unaware that the outbreak had already begun. Quick action could have allowed quarantines to be put in place. Instead, Iran greased its own path toward the most catastrophic outbreak in modern history. So, let's look at Iran's chart. We see Jupiter right here at 29 degrees Cancer, 4 minutes. Ceres over here, 15 degrees Pisces, 20 minutes, conjunct the South Node at 17 Pisces, 15. When the virus was first reported, transiting Neptune was conjunct Ceres right here, and has since passed over the South Node, making a quincunx to Pluto as it heads toward a square with natal Neptune. Meanwhile, transiting Saturn in their 6th house had been approaching an opposition to Jupiter over here. And that became exact on March 10th, 2 days ago. That same day, the moon in Libra opposed Chiron, completing a grand cross with the transiting nodes, indicating a health crisis. Misinformation, lies, suppression, repression, and suffering are all part of this story. The CDC has recorded a date of first onset for the disease as January 12th, 2020, the day of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And although WHO says the first report was December 31st, 2019, a BBC article states that a study by Chinese researchers published in the Lancet Medical Journal claimed the first person to be diagnosed with COVID-19 was on 1 December 2019. This chart for the first coronavirus case reported is for December 9th, 19, a date I saw that various astrologers employed as the pandemic was ramping up. This date is just after Jupiter had entered Capricorn. I've used noon with a 0-degree Aries ascendant because we don't have an exact time. Venus was out of bounds, also in Capricorn, approaching a conjunction with Saturn, pointing to suffering, suppression, and/or repression. And Ceres was also out of bounds in south latitude, indicating the depth of the suffering. Linda, I know you've done some research using the asteroid Coronis. Do you or anyone else have any comments here?
I think Coronis on that date was at 3 degrees Aquarius, squaring Uranus, 3 degrees Taurus.
Ah.
Yes. Oh, there's many others, but I would need to go and have a look at the chart. But that, to me, signifies this virus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and Uranus stands for contagion. And
Ah,
yeah, and Taurus for survival. So there we go.
okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have a question or comment? Okay. Since the virus was first reported in China, let's look at their chart. The brown star over here is by Jupiter in Capricorn. Square the nodes, just 12 minutes from where the Saturn-Pluto conjunction point was in January, and less than 3 degrees from the lunar eclipse that occurred 2 days before that on January 10th. The June eclipse will be conjunct their out of bounds Uranus in Cancer, and transiting Venus retrograde will be exactly opposite the 10th house Chiron conjunct Character. Then the Jupiter-Saturn great conjunction in December 2020 will take place less than 2 degrees from their out of bounds moon. And Linda, didn't you just say that this is where Coronis was?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Wow. Okay.
Would you mind repeating that little bit at the end about the moon?
Sure. The Jupiter-Saturn great conjunction that will occur in December of 2020. This is the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn that starts the air conjunctions after we've had hundreds of years in Earth signs. So will take place less than 2 degrees from their out of bounds 12th house moon, China's out of bounds 12th house moon in Aquarius, while transiting Chiron in Aries is square to natal Uranus down here. Mm-hmm. So Chiron will be down here, squaring Uranus here in the 5th. Jupiter and Saturn will also be opposed to Iran's Jupiter, while their progressed 4th house moon and Uranus form a conjunction in Scorpio. So what does this foretell about these two countries? Might China help bring forward the technology to help combat this virus? Will the death toll continue to rise in both China and Iran? Stay tuned. And then we have Italy, where the death toll has now passed 1,000 as of today. Look at their Venus conjunct Saturn up here in Cancer, showing Saturn within a degree of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. This chart is one that came with my Sirius software, and it states that the accuracy is undetermined. Now, Wikipedia has the establishment of the Italian Republic on June 2nd, 1946, which would yield similar planetary positions, except for a Cancer moon near Saturn up here, and a very fast Mercury in Gemini approaching Uranus over here. So either one could speak to this, what's going on. Either way, Everything else is similar in this chart as far as the Saturn-Pluto contacts.
Sue.
Yes.
Just pointing out that the moon in this chart is 3 degrees Scorpio, opposite the current Uranus, and T-squaring the Coronis asteroid and Chiron, I think, in the previous chart. But anyway, just wanted to draw your attention to that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, this could be a valid chart. I mean, like I said, this was the one, this chart was provided with Sirius software. So they had obviously had researched it and came up with this date to, you know, to publish it. So, wow. And their progress chart with the recent full moon in Virgo right here, with Neptune down here, conjunct the sun, squaring Italy's sun conjunct the North Node. Progressed Jupiter, Venus and Chiron form a T-square with natal Venus and Saturn and transiting Pluto. Transiting Jupiter down here is just about to make a conjunction with Pluto. The first one will be on April 4th at 24 degrees Capricorn, 53 minutes. And guess who was born 4 days after this Italy chart on the day of the lunar eclipse? Yes, here's Donald Trump's chart with the recent full moon in Virgo, square his full moon eclipse, conjunct Uranus. Similar progressions and transits for him as for Italy, only his moon is also conjunct the South Node. So it's in the picture as well. Now, he's received criticism for his slow response to the coronavirus crisis, originally calling it a hoax and then downplaying the severity of it in order to calm financial markets that were reacting to the potential ramifications of the outbreak. This in order to ensure that he's reelected in November, no doubt. That date is a long way off, with 2 Jupiter-Pluto conjunctions before then, with the third one happening on November 12th, just over a week after the election. The degree of that final conjunction is 5 minutes from the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that occurred as this crisis was beginning. Much can happen between now and then. So if we have some time left, let's briefly look at how many eclipse paths cross this area of South America. 7 of them crisscrossing Chile and Argentina between 2017 and 2024. According to Reuters, the Chilean peso closed at a historic low on Monday as fears over the global coronavirus outbreak and widespread protests continued to rattle the copper-rich South American nation. AlJazeera.com reports that more than 1 million women took part in an International Women's Day march in Chile on Sunday, but protests are far from over. Marches, rallies, and work stoppages continued on Monday in response to calls for a feminist strike, nearly 5 months into broader protests against structural inequality. HRW.org says that long-standing human rights problems in Argentina include police abuse, poor prison conditions, endemic violence against women, restrictions on abortion, difficulty accessing reproductive services, and obstacles keeping indigenous people from enjoying the rights that Argentine and international law afford them. The protests are likely to be ongoing as these issues continue to be addressed. Comments? Questions? Here are some references of the articles that I talked about and books. Well, I guess I will take that as a no and just say that it looks like we've got a lot of Cancer and Capricorn going on, and it looks to continue. And then we'll move into Gemini and Sagittarius.
Okay, Sue, thank you so much. Any comments from our audience? Okay, Sue, I just wanted to ask a quick question. After working on all of these charts and gathering all of this information, could you sum up?
Well, I just kept saying, wow, every time I looked at the correlations between the geodetic zones and the hot spots of the news. And also the zones that were particularly active, just the qualities of the signs, you know, that went with it, you know, because we're having issues with oppression, suppression, you know, all these Capricornian lower vibration terms. And where we need to go, it seems to me, is toward the Cancerian, you know, caring and nurturing and you know, encouragement.
Yes, definitely. I think it's affecting everyone in that way. So it's a collective evolution.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you and I were talking beforehand about our stomachs. You know, Cancer rules the stomach, and my stomach has been, you know, flip-flopping and in knots, you know, over what's going on in the world. It's like, whoa, what, you know, what's next, you know?
I can't help but think that there's going to be something negative coming out of that, even more negative coming out of this, like where, you know, some underhandedness will take place to take advantage of this situation.
It's already happening. You know, when I realized the other day that when they declare an emergency here in the U.S., it puts into effect a no price gouging rule, or, you know, law, or whatever, however, regulation, I don't know what it is, but, you know, you can be prosecuted for price gouging, you know, for toilet paper and water and things. And, you know, also, you know, speaking to that, you know, things coming, we still have Mars yet to make the conjunction with Pluto, and that could very well kick off more of this, ramp it up, so to speak. And you know, we've got all the Neptune in there too. And I had said something. I was thinking about Neptune, kind of, because it has no boundaries. It can. I mean, you alluded to. Well, you said that Uranus is about contagion, and I think Neptune can probably aid and abet it. You know, because there are no boundaries. And you know, that's where we are in the world right now, is basically we don't have boundaries, but you know, we're trying to exert them in order to contain this virus. And I don't think it's happening. Now, whether the virus is, you know what, who knows what's going to happen? Time will tell.
I was also thinking about the World Health Organization, and I guess that's made up of representatives from each nation. And so who is overseeing this whole crisis?
Well, that's
who's going to get the power? You know, who sits in the seat of power as far
exactly. And you know, here in the US, our president has, you know, kind of disavowed the WHO.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, and has dissembled the CDC and all, you know, all of the organizations that could have possibly contained this before it spread.
I'm also interested on how it's affecting us on a personal level, and looking at personal charts. And yeah, I know a lot is happening for me. A Uranus square, Uranus opposite Neptune, I mean, and Pluto squaring Mars, Pluto opposite Moon, Pluto just approaching my Sun. So my personal planets are right in the thick of this.
Right. And that's a lot all at once.
That's a lot. And it is affecting me physically, and it is affecting my health. But, you know, I'm trying to channel that energy into, you know, I have a little bit of a project going on and looking at Coronis asteroid, just, you know, seeing what I can see, really.
Yeah, yeah. And that's how I felt when I was working on this. I don't know if digging into the research has helped me to kind of, you know, understand what's going on, or, you know, get a grasp of, you know, how large this is. It's certainly helped.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling like it's probably bigger than we think. And
it seems,
I don't know about you, Sue, but I'm a little bit scared to leave the house.
I think a lot of people are like that. I am a little bit, yeah. However, you know, we also, you know, I guess life goes on, or I don't know. Exactly, it's a conundrum. What do you do? You know, do you just hunker down? And
the whole world is in a state of panic right now.
Yeah, yeah, panic. Exactly.
Yeah, the whole world is like.
Yeah, yes, and you know, and panic is the same root as pandemic. You know, right. Pan.
Yes.
Definitely, these energies are pushing us to another level, perhaps Neptunian, perhaps spiritual level.
Yes, yes.
Where human beings go when they're faced with a crisis, you know.
Yeah, and of course there are different vibrations of of Neptune that you can take too. You know, you can bury your head in the sand, or you can
toilet paper.
Yeah, buy toilet paper.
Bury your head in the toilet paper.
Okay, well, I've got one roll left, so there you go.
I accidentally bought twice as much as I wanted to online, which I thought I had to laugh at myself, because I had made an order, and I didn't think it went through, so I went back and redid the order and sent it in, and then about 15 minutes later realized I too am hoarding toilet paper. Oh boy.
Oh gosh. Okay, Sue. So, any final thoughts before we wind down?
No, I think there are things, the various agencies are putting out guidelines on, things that we can do to, wash your hands and take vitamin C and make sure your vitamin D levels are up, make sure you're drinking a lot of water and, things like that. I think all those things are common sense anyway, but, at this point, probably even more so. We'll get through it one way or the other,
Okay, well, we can have, we can continue following this. If you like, Sue, you can keep presenting on this if you wish.
Oh, absolutely. I'm fascinated, so I'm sure I'll keep looking into it.
I find it fascinating because it's affected the whole world, and everything is shutting down, and it's just absolutely bizarre, isn't it?
Oh, I know. I mean, yeah, everything that's shutting down is amazing, and where the money is going is is where where the money is already, instead of taking care of the people who need taking care of. What I'm referring to is, again, our government pouring a trillion and a half dollars into financial.
Yep.
Into what? Into what?
Into the financial sector.
Right.
Because they're going to lose money because the stock market's going down. Instead of, health care for people, millions of people who don't have it.
Yes, exactly. And definitely highlighting these issues and hopefully changes to come.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's, I think what the big point of this talk is that it seems like a crossroads in time for us. I think, many people have been saying, how incredible the times are that we're living in. And indeed they are.
Well, it's interesting because the nodes of Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter, the south nodes, have been in Capricorn for thousands of years. And now we have Pluto at that degree, we have Saturn there and Jupiter, and it's just all happening, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's like thousands, tens of thousands of years of, this has been in the works. And here we are. It's time to resolve this because we need to move forward.
Exactly. Sue, thank you so much for all your work. It's been so fascinating, and thank you to our audiences on YouTube, on Facebook, and in this Zoom meeting, and the YouTube audiences. And we will have more for you, won't we, Sue?
Yes, we will.
Yes.
Thank you, Linda, for all the work you do too.
Our pleasure. Okay, bye everyone. See you next time.
Thanks, Sue. It was awesome.
Thank you, Robin. Bye.